Today we're gonna tell you the storyline of a movie called Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. From the year 2022. This movie tells us about the story of Puss with his iconic boots. He always manages to defeat all his enemies, and was considered a hero by the people. But suddenly, he has to retire from the adventure world. Why? Stay tuned on the video. Before we start, please support our channel by subscribing, and click the bell icon for future notifications. Now, let's start. The movie starts when Puss in Boots, the legendary cat who has become a fugitive, due to the crimes he did. Although he has a lot of enemies, he was also loved by a lot of people. They were awed by his adventures, and also felt helped by all of his donations, even if all of the donations were Puss theft proceeds. And to celebrate his glory, Puss held a party, in the mansion of the governor of Dalmar. In the middle of the party, the governor suddenly came, and ordered his guards to capture Puss.
Bring me the head of Puss and Boots!
The commotion then wakes an earthen giant, who got angry and attacked them. Everyone ran frantically, but not for Puss in Boots. He launched himself right at the giant instead, to fight against it. He fearlessly faced off the giant. And unexpectedly, Puss managed to defeat the giant. Everybody cheered for him, but when Puss embraced his victory, a church bell fell on top of him. Not long after, Puss wakes at the local clinic, where the doctor told him that he was dead back there. Hearing that, Puss seems so chill, as he is a cat, and he thought that he had 9 lives. But suddenly the doctor told him to look back on his past. And when he flashes back to his past deaths, it turns out that he had died a total of 8 times in his adventure. It means that, he only got one last life at stake. The doctor then suggested that he retire, and to spend his last life safely, and recommended him to take refuge at Mama Luna's place, an elderly cat lady. The doctor's words weren't accepted right away. He insisted on retiring, because he was in his prime right then. Shortly after, in a local pub, Puss was approached by a black hooded wolf, who turns out to be the Death, who had been aiming for Puss for a long time. He always awaits to take Puss' last life, to take his long adventure to an end. Puss was fearless as usual, and challenged the Death. And unexpectedly, Puss was defeated for the first time. He was bleeding, and goosebumps ran up his spine. He was in fear, and decided to flee away. The occurrence makes him think about the doctor's words once more, and forces him to seek refuge at Mama Luna's house, where he ceremoniously buried his iconic attire, and puts his career to a rest. As a cat lady, Mama Luna greeted Puss' arrival with open hands, where she took care of him, just like all the other cats in her house. As time passes, Puss was getting used to his new life, and he looked so different with his new beard. There he meets Perro, a sad-looking yet optimistic dog. He disguised himself as a cat, so that he can be taken care of by Mama Luna. He looks so happy to know Puss, since he has never had any friends. Whereas Puss, who was not so interested in Perro. Their talk then was interrupted, when a girl named Goldilocks busted the door with her bear family, and a wanted poster of Puss in Boots in her hand. Luckily, Puss' beard makes him unrecognizable. More so when they saw Puss' grave, and assumed that Puss in Boots was indeed dead. Which then Puss and Perro overheard them talking about the wishing stars.
The wishing star?
A magical fallen star that can grant any one wish. Where its map was currently in the hand of Big Jack Horner. Hearing about the magical wishing star, and seeing the opportunity, Puss then immediately became excited, and was thinking about finding the magical wishing star, so that he could wish for his 8 lives, and get back to his glory. Long story short, Puss finally arrived at Jack Horner's bakery. The bakery was filled with magical things, including the map to the magical wishing star. When he was about to steal the map, he suddenly stumbled upon his ex-fiancée, named Kitty Softpaws. It turns out that they were both after the Wishing Stars map. But instead of just them there, Goldilocks and her bear family suddenly appeared to get the map by breaking through the roofs. The commotion they just made then makes Jack notice their presence. Their fight was inevitable, since they have their strong determination to get to the magical Wishing Star. Jack tried to stop Puss and everyone there with his magical stuff. Meanwhile, Puss and Kitty tried their best to secure the map, until they finally managed to escape with it, along with Perro, who had followed Puss there. As they decide to work together at that moment and flee, Puss briefly catches a glimpse of the Death, watching him from afar. Jack then prepared all of his magical stuff, and his subordinates to take over the map. Meanwhile, Goldilocks and her bear family were tracking Puss, with the bear's sharp smelling sense. On the other hand, the map leads the cats trio to the dark forest, but contrary to its name, it was a very colorful place inside.
May I please see the map? Kitty! Oh, look at her! So goofy! Oh, so cute! Ah!
But it turns out that the landscape was morphing, depending on the wielder of the map. Where Puss and Kitty receive similar hell-like landscapes,
Let me take a look. There's something wrong.
while Perro receives a vibrant and seemingly serene forest. And due to that, they decided to let Perro wield the map and lead their journey. Right when they were just starting the journey, Goldilocks and her bear family suddenly came through the skies, with Jake and his subordinates behind them, as he managed to follow Puss thanks to his gazing ball. After running for a while, Puss, Kitty, and Perro suddenly stopped by obstacles, in the form of pocketful of posies blocking their way. Puss and Kitty tried to get rid of the giant flowers violently, but it didn't work. Until Perro told them that they can simply stop and smell the roses, to go past them. Perro's cheerful and innocent nature actually hides a dark past, where he was growing up treated badly by his so-called family of pranksters past owner, where they would play hide and seek with him, and throw him into places such as the dumpster. Until one day he was shoved into a sock with a rock, and thrown into a river. And he ended up in Mama Luna's house, after he managed to gnaw a hole in the sock, and swam to the surface. But despite the sad story he had been through, he always managed to move on, and take it as a funny story instead. And was so grateful of having Puss and Kitty as his best friends. Soon after, Jack and Goldilocks also stumbled upon the posies, where Jack uses all of his magical stuff to get rid of the flowers. But as we know, that it did nothing but bad things to them instead. Until finally he pulled out a talking cricket, who suggested better ways to get past the posies, but he didn't listen, and tried to burn the flowers instead. Meanwhile, Puss trio were streaming through the river of relaxation, and got closer to each other there, where Puss and Kitty teach Perro how to do the cute eye. And near the end of the stream, Kitty shaved Puss' messy beard, and she gave Puss her gatito blade, to replace his lost sword. When they played fetch with Perro by the end of the river, they again met the Goldilocks family and Jack, where the inevitable battle happened again. In the middle of the fight, Puss senses the Death's existence again. He was in fear, and ran immediately. And due to that, the Wishing Stars map has fallen into Goldilocks' hands, which morphs the landscapes. Shortly after, Perro managed to catch up to Puss, who was still in fear. Perro then rests his head on his chest, to calm him down. Until he finally tells Perro about his phobia of the Death, who was always after him. Furthermore, Puss also tells Perro that he terribly regrets that he had abandoned Kitty, at the altar on their wedding day.
Puss?
Overhearing their talk, Kitty then suddenly appeared, and confessed that she had never actually attended the wedding either. She was afraid that she could never compete with someone who loved himself more than her. Meanwhile, Goldilocks and the bears were led to a snowy cottage, with a lot of comforting stuff for the bears. Here revealed that Goldilocks was an orphan, who was accidentally found and being taken care of by the bear's family. And it turns out that her wish was to get a human family like a normal girl should have ever been with. After finally reunited, Puss and Kitty worked together to take over the map from Goldilocks, where the change of the map's wielder also morphs the landscapes. Successfully taking over the map, and totally forgets about Perro, who turns out was captured by Goldilocks. They were separated as Puss was trapped in the Cave of Lost Souls, after he touched the map. Puss and Kitty then went the separate ways, where Puss needed to get out of the cave, while Kitty went back to rescue Perro. In the cave, Puss encounters the reflection of his past lives, who mocked him for his change of attitude to an ordinary cat, from the free independent adventurous legend he used to be. He disagrees with them, because he believes that Perro and Kitty will always be by his side.
You guys are jerks! I'll find my own way out!
When he was about to get out the cave, he was again met by the Death, who was there to take his last life, as a punishment for him, for wasting his 8 lives. Puss then again ran in fear. While at the same time, Kitty was running away from Goldilocks with Perro, after she rescued him. And witnesses Puss, hastily running away with the map. It disappoints her, because she thought that Puss betrayed them, and was going to take the wish for himself. Meanwhile Goldilocks was in an argument with the bear family, and revealed her wish for a human family. It devastates the bears, but they eventually support her, since they want what's best for her.
This is something that will make you happy. We'll get you that wish.
Long story short, Puss finally arrived at the wishing star. There he was confronted by Kitty, who felt betrayed by his selfishness. Not long after, Goldilocks and Jack finally arrived at the wishing star as well, and they were fighting for their wishes. In that fight, Jack attacked the little bear, and launched it to the wishing star's walls and was sucked. And right then, Goldilocks realizes that she never needed a new family, since she already has the warmth and love she always dreamt of, from the bears. She then immediately went to the mama bear and papa bear to save the little bear. Meanwhile, Kitty managed to kick Jack into his magic nanny bag. While Puss reflects on his decisions, Perro then convinces him that with his one life, he could get through a better adventure, because he wasn't alone anymore.
Maybe one life is enough.
Soon after, the Death comes back again, and challenges Puss to a fight. Perro's words touched him, that his courage was back, and was determined to not waste his very last life.
I'm done running.
And he manages to defeat the Death. As the black-hooded wolf heads away, he assures Puss that they are gonna meet again one day, for their last fight. Shortly after, Jack suddenly emerges from the magical nanny bag, in a giant form. Seizing the map from Puss and Kitty, and was about to make his wish.
Perrito!
But Perro managed to distract him with a cute eye, long enough for Puss, Kitty, and Goldilocks to reclaim the map, and rip it to shreds, causing the wishing star to explode, with Jack still in the middle of it. Seeing the beautiful shooting stars, Puss, Kitty, Perro, Goldilocks, and the bear seems happy, even without being able to make their wishes. Goldilocks finally accepts the bears as her family. Whereas Puss, Kitty and Perro were united in the team friendship, stealing a ship from the governor of Dalmar the very next day, and set sail to the kingdom of Far Far Away, to reunite with some old friends. And the movie ends. What do you think of this movie? Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts on the comments section below. If you have any movie you want us to recap, please do tell us in the comment as well. And until next time.